Alrighty, so today we are going to finish the review for match week number 12, where we're going to look at the remaining West Coast game and then, of course, the Sunday night soccer game that happened yesterday. And with that being said, let us begin the first game, which is St. Louis versus San Diego. So this game looked like it was destined to end 0-0, but then all the goals happened in the last 11 minutes of the game. Now, in the first half, there was a couple of half chances for St. Louis, but not much happened early in this game. The shots were 4-0 for St. Louis, which you thought that, how is this game haven't had a lot happen when there's already four shots for St. Louis early in this one? Well, all of them was block shots. Pretty much all of them were pretty easy for San Diego to deal with. Toysher then tried to chip Dos Santos from the halfway line, but didn't get the pace to do so. We saw a lot of incident this week where players trying to chip the goalkeeper from halfway line. And as I said, last year, this was kind of a common theme. We see that happen a lot, and more times than not, we have seen that actually happen and was the reason why we saw so many spectacular goals, especially from the halfway line. But in the 39th minute, Dos Santos denied Watts from close before Toysher just missed one from long range as St. Louis was trying to get the lead before halftime, creating some chances. Harto would then puts it wide on the free kick. We do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Lozano would miss wide from close before De La Torre missed wide from long range. I thought it was a much better start for San Diego. I mean, that first half for San Diego, yeah, it was not a great first half for Mikey Vera's side. Klaus would then puts it over the bar as the flag went up, and then the post denying Dreyer from long range. Klaus would then hits one right to Dos Santos in the 69th minute before Toysher would miss wide from Klaus not long after. St. Louis definitely had the pressure. They were pressing for the lead. Lozano would then puts it wide from Klaus, and then Iloski would puts it into the side netting in the 78th minute. And you just kind of had a sense that, this game might be up for grabs because both of these teams were really creating some dangerous chances. But who can eventually show that clinical finishing to get the opening goal? The answer is San Diego, as in the 79th minute, Iloski scored for the second game in a row from Godoy to make it 1-0 in favor of San Diego, and then he looked to score another relatively quick, but this time was denied by Lund. Godoy would then struck the post from close in the 85th minute. There was no doubt momentum was with San Diego. They were trying to get that second goal to put this game away, and they did exactly that in the 87th minute, as Anders Dryers would score to make it 2-0 in favor of San Diego, and it just came off of a bad turnover there from St. Louis. Yeah, you just can't do that. And Lund also got 5 hole there in the near post, so not a great moment there for the young netminder for St. Louis as well. But St. Louis did make it a little interesting late in this one, as Kyle Hebert would score a rare goal to make it 2-1 in this one. Dos Santos actually made a great save, and then Wallen actually struck the post on the rebound. There was a lot of posts that was hit in this game, wasn't it? And then finally, it fall kindly right to Hebert up the third time on the cherry for St. Louis, and it goes into the back of the net. So yeah, made it interesting late in this game. Maybe St. Louis might come from behind in a crazy fashion. Didn't happen though, as in the end, San Diego hold on to win 2-1 in this one. Shots in this one, both team had 15 shots in this one. 5 shots on goal for the 4 that St. Louis had. 3 shots off or free shot on goal. No, 5 shots on goal compared to 3 that San Diego has. 4 shots off target compared to 7 that San Diego has. 5 shots on block compared to 3 that San Diego has. And possession wise, 56% possession compared to 44% possession in favor of the visiting team. So, if you're St. Louis, the good news coming out of this loss is that they at least create some chances. This is something that they have really struggled this season, so I guess that might be a moral victory for this team because yeah, it's another loss for them. The struggle can continue. The seat is getting hotter for Olaf Melberg, and for San Diego, it took a while for them to eventually get that crucial opening goal. But when they eventually got it, and especially when they doubled their lead, there was no doubt that they were on their way of getting another 3 points out of this game. Now, moving on in terms of the next match is Charlotte and Nashville, and Charlotte all of a sudden is going the wrong direction. I mean, remember a couple of weeks when I said that this team was supposed to be a contender in the East? Yeah, things have not gone so well for Dean Smith's side. Now, in the first half, for Charlotte, the game did see Mukhtar hits it right to Kalina before Willis denied Zaha from close in the 12th minute. The shots were 2-1 for Charlotte, at least in the first 15 minutes. Mukhtar then tried to chip Kalina off his lines because, again, we've seen this a lot this week where teams trying to the goalkeeper from the halfway area. But Kalina, he was very fortunate here because he was actually scrambling to try to get this one palmed away, and he did exactly that. Although I don't think that was actually on target, but Kalina was taking no risk. And then the Naha tried to do the same thing, but this time, not only the fact that he did not miss by much, but if it was just maybe a couple of feet, that probably would have been a spectacular goal for Andy Naha. But there was no doubt that Nashville was not afraid to try to go for these spectacular, trying to also keep Kalina a little honest of him not coming off his lines way too much. Palacio would then hits it to the side netting before Kalina tipped Palacio's header over. Mukhtar would then cross one right to Kalina. Nashville was definitely pushing to try to get the opener up to this point. Surridge would then hits one right to Kalina. The shots were 10-2 for Nashville up to this point. Yeah, Nashville was all over Charlotte in this one. And again, the Charlotte defense, while at times this season has been good, they were absorbing a lot of pressure up to this point. Palacios then heads it wide from close range, and fortunate for Sharp that this game hits the halftime scoreless, and you got to say for BJ Cowan, that's going to be frustrating because you pretty much dominate the entire first half, and that would actually turn out to be something that would come back to haunt them at least in the first 3 minutes of the second half, because after Willis denied Arjumant on a 1v1 opportunity, Charlotte does get that opening goal. It's Leo Bada. He scored for Brodico to make it 1-0 in favor of Charlotte. It came off a bad turnover there from Nashville, and just like that, Charlotte, despite playing second best for pretty much the entire first half, they have the lead. That lead lasted only 90 seconds because in the 49th minute, Mokhtar would score from Mio and Yazbek to tie the game up at one apiece. And like I said, just came 90 seconds after Charlotte got the lead. You couldn't ask for a better response for Nashville. And you know what makes it even better? Them taking the lead and turn this game on its head early in the second half, as Schaffelberg would score in the 54th minute from Nahar and Yazbek to make it 2-1 in favor of Nashville. Mew did look to make it 3-1, but he hits it right to Kalina before Abada was in on goal there, and he missed that one on target. Yeah, it's safe to say that it's been a bit of a rough season for Leo Abada, especially recently. By the way, Pep Biel also played in this game, but you can clearly tell he was not healthy coming into this game. He played a very limited role for Charlotte in this one. But going back to Abada, he would then puts it over from close range as Charlotte was trying to press to try to get themselves the equalizer. Nashville kind of started to go back to the Gary Smith day of, yeah, when we have the lead late in the game, we're just going to completely shut everything down. We're just going to shut up shop, bunker with a low block and try to hold on to the lead, which is something that, to be fair, during the Gary Smith day, it was very successful, but I'm pretty sure Nashville fans were concerned because, yeah, we don't know how that's going to work out in BJ Callahan style. But the good news is it actually worked out, as in the end, Nashville gets a big 2-1 win over Charlotte in this one. Shots in this one, 14 shots for the 10 that Charlotte has, 9 shots on goal compared to the 4 that Charlotte has, 3 shots off target for the 1 that Nashville has. Both teams had 3 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession that Nashville has in this game. So good win for Nashville in this one. I still think they're a very inconsistent team. I would not be surprised if Nashville will somehow lay an egg in the next game, which just that kind of feels very Nashville kind of like for them this season. But for Charlotte, like I said, they're going the wrong direction. And what makes it worse for Charlotte is that they have a very heavy road schedule coming up. And this is a team that, last season they were a pretty good road team. This season they have not been a great road team. So that there's got to be concern for Dean Smith in terms of how to actually win games on the road, because they don't want to go for a bit of a slide when it comes to the standings if they can't win these road games. I mean, for a team that I even said a couple of weeks they look like a contender in the East, they definitely don't play like that when they're playing in the East. Or playing on the road. That is, they're playing, of course, in the East right now. But yeah, that's going to be something that they have to do, because if they don't win these road game in this heavy road stretch, especially against some of these tougher for team as well, I mean, you can clearly say fraud alert is definitely on full watch for Charlotte FC this season. Now, moving on, in the next match is Houston and the Seattle Sounders. So this is a game that really pissed off Dynamo fans, and understandably, not just because of the loss, but unfortunately, we had a very questionable refereeing decision that really changed this game. Now, in the first half, the first shot of the game, see McGlynn hits it right to Fry before Ponce had a header that was deflected in a dangerous area, but cleared the way. Dynamo was definitely the better team early on, looking for the early lead. The first shot for the Sounders, see Rodon puts it wide from close range before Kent, who puts it over from long range, and the shots went out 2 apiece 20 minutes in. Dorsey would then hits it wide from close, but then the 22nd minute, the Moose is loose again. This is the fifth game in a row that Danny Muswowski has got on the score sheet. I believe that actually is pretty close in terms of the Sounders record, but he scored here to make it 1-0 in favor of the Sounders. Ponce did look to respond, but he hits the side netting on the free kick. But in the 32nd minute, Houston does get the response as Awadusi would score his first career MLS goal from McGlynn to make it 1-1 in this game. But then this is where the controversy began because Awadusi would kind of become hero to villain in a very controversial way because he got sent off in this one. Apparently, VAR deemed that he handballed this one, and they actually changed this originally from a penalty to being a free kick as this foul happened outside the box. But the question is, was that actually a handball? Because when I look at it a couple of times on the replay, it definitely does not look like it hit the hand of Awadusa. In fact, it looks like the ball kind of went through both of the hands there, and that yeah, I mean that's definitely a very questionable call, and I call that. I mean, I guess maybe because of the fact that the original call was a penalty, you need definitive evidence to overturn it, and maybe they say that there might not be definitive evidence, even though I can kind of see that yeah, that ball didn't hit the hand of Aduce, especially with the way that the ball would have changed the spin rate, especially when they put it in slow motion, and it definitely didn't change any direction or early spin rate. So yeah, again, Dynamo fans were very upset about this call, and rightfully so as well, because I don't think this was the correct call, and I wouldn't be surprised if Awadusi would get his red card rescinded because of it. But in the 44th minute, on the ensuing free kick, Rodon would have a shot that was deflected and goes wide, but we do head to halftime with the score tied up at 1 apiece. Sounders waste no time to make it 2-1 and retake the lead in the second half, as Albert Rusnak would score from De La Vega and Yamar to make it 2-1 in favor of the Sounders. Rodon would then look for another, but he puts it wide from long range before De La Vega puts it wide from close. And really, with the man advantage, albeit in a controversial way, the Sounders were definitely taking advantage. They were trying to push the lead to 2. McGlynn would then puts it into the side netting, which some fans felt that went in, especially from certain angle. I wouldn't blame fans feel like, oh, that went into the back net, even though it clearly hits the side netting. Ponce would then puts it high from long range. Dynamo, again, they were creating some pressure, and that's kind of the thing I think kind of makes it even more infuriating for Dynamo fans, because if this game was at 11-11, who knows what the result would have been in this one. But instead, Seattle does get that 2-goal advantage as Rusnak would score again. This time he scored from Ryan Ken, who has been chipping a couple of helper ever since he made his debut to make it 3-1 in favor of the Sounders. Dorsey did look to get one back, but he was absolutely robbed by Stephen Fry. I mean, that was just incredible save there from Fry. A little reminiscent of the Josie Altidore save that he made in the MLS Cup in 2016. Urso would then puts it high from close, and again, to the Dynamo credit, they were still not giving up. They were trying to make this interesting late in this one. McGlynn would then hits it right to Fry on the free kick, and then Bond denied Manungu in the near post. But in the end, Seattle, albeit in a very controversial way, they win 3-1 in this one and continue to climb up in the Western Conference standing. The shots in this one, 16 shots for the 14 that the Sounders had. Both teams had 4 shots on goal, 6 shots off target for the 4 that the Sounders had, 5 shots off that's blocked for the 6 that the Dynamo has, and possession-wise, 40% possession compared to 60% possession the Sounders has in this game. I mean, this is a very tricky situation that I gotta say that Dynamo found themselves in, where again we will never know if the red card didn't happen, that maybe this game would have been tighter, but obviously the Sounders wouldn't care. They continue to rise up in the standings and continue to what we saw last season as a theme, where they start off slow, but then they go on their usual second half resurgence, and before you know it, by the time July hits, they're pretty much near the top of the Western Conference. Now, moving on into the next game is Dallas and RSL. So, yeah, this was a game. I'll just say, I mean, it was definitely not one of the more entertaining game, which is not a big surprise because that's kind of how what we've seen with Dallas this season. They have been on hand of some games that are just absolutely crazy, and then there are some games where they play like this one, which is, yeah, it was kind of tough to watch if you were neutral watching this one. But the first shot of the game, C. Catranes hits it right to post before there was a shout for a handball for RSL not given. Gata would then puts it over from long range. RSL definitely has been the better team, at least early on. They were looking to try to get the lead, though the first shot for Dallas did see Norris hits it wide in the 17th minute, but then the 23rd minute, Luna would score to make it 1-0 in favor of RSL. And not only that, goal has been coming because RSL has been more of the positive team, but that was just a trademark Diego Luna kind of goal where he basically went beast mode. There's a reason why Luna is definitely doing a Benteke-esque kind of carry job with RSL. He's like the most dangerous attacker for this RSL team, and he's doing everything to try to carry the attack of this team, and he did it again in this one to make it 1-0 in favor of RSL. Also, he finished with an absolute banger, and I gotta say, this would have been a goal of the week contention if it wasn't for what we were about to see in one of the game that a bicycle kick was scored in one of these games. But Acosta did look to respond, but he was denied by Cabral, and then the post would deny Norris on the front post in the 32nd minute. Dallas definitely have woken up and had a great response. Now they were pushing to try to get the equalizer. Agata would then heads it wide from close in the 42nd minute, but we do head to halftime with RSL leading 1-0. That lead would be short-lived heading into the second half, as in the 52nd minute, Anderson Julio would score against his former team from Pedrinho to tie the game up at one apiece. And normally when you score against your former team, you don't really celebrate. But I guess because of the fact that he also kind of went beast mode in this moment and scored the goal. I mean, he can't resist in terms of scoring the equalizer. And then things go from bad to worse for RSL because William Agata would get a second yellow here, and it was just a silly second yellow card. I mean, I understand that you want to try to draw the penalty, and we see players that are trying to maybe go down a little too easily in terms of drawing a penalty, but at the same time, we know that MLS is definitely cracking down in terms of these embellishment that has happened, and especially when you're already on a yellow card. Just don't do that, because if you do that, and especially of how egregious that was, it was no surprise whatsoever. The second yellow card was shown, and just like that, RSL was down to 10 men for the remaining of the game. Kamungo would then hits the side netting before Julio would put it wide from close range as Dallas was trying to press for the lead with a man advantage. There was a shout for a penalty that was not given for Dallas before Poss would deny Mudchuk from close as RSL was looking to steal one late in this one. But overall, it ends in a 1-1 draw in this one, and the shots in this one, yeah, not a lot of shots. 7 shots apiece for both of these teams. 2 shots on goal for the 3 that RSL has. 2 shots off target for the 3 that Dallas had. 1 shot that was blocked for the 2 that RSL has. And possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that Dallas has in this game. And there's no doubt that I think RSL will be the more happier side, considering, when you play down a man for a majority of the second half and didn't really give too much chances for Dallas. I think Pablo Mastroeni will be happy with this result, but yeah, Peter Quill will not be happy with this result. More points dropped at home. Home form has been a bit of an issue for Dallas this season, and especially that the inconsistency has definitely been an issue for this Dallas team. I mean, there's just no in between in terms of this season of what kind of Dallas team will show up any day. You can see a Dallas team that is firing on all cylinder and playing some entertaining game, and then you can see a Dallas team that played this kind of game, which is, yeah, it was definitely, to say entertaining would be just an insult in terms of the word after watching this game. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last 3 games to finish off the review of part 2 of match week number 12. So moving on, in the next one is Colorado and the San Jose Earthquakes. And remember those times when the Quakes would not be able to beat the Rapids at Dick's Sporting Goods Park, and it feels like PSG Park is just kind of a house of horror for the Quakes all those years, no matter if the Quakes are playing a good Colorado team or a bad Colorado team. Well, ever since that they kind of break that curse with a rare draw, they've now gone unbeaten in 3 games against the Colorado Rapids on the road, and that includes them winning the last 2 games, and this one getting a clean sheet as well. Because yeah, I mean, this is something that I think I wouldn't see a lot with the Quakes this season. Because as I always say, getting a clean sheet for the San Jose Earthquakes is like once in a blue moon kind of thing. Even though this is the second time that has happened this season. Now in the first half, not much really happened in the first 13 minutes. Daniel would deny Navarro as that was the game first shot. By the way, I do apologize the fact that you can't really read the text very well. I think I made a huge mistake by deciding to put orange text in terms of the text for the second half of the board. But either way, 14 minutes in, Espinoza was in on goal there, but he was absolutely robbed by Stefan, and I just had a feeling, oh boy, here we go again. Is this going to be like the last game where Stefan was standing on his heads and single-handedly stole that game for the Rapids when this was at PayPal Park? But there was no doubt that this game was certainly living up early in this one. Both of these teams were pushing for the opening goal. There was a shout for a penalty for the Quakes, not given. Yappy would then hit it right to Danielle before Reggie Cannon would also hit one right to Danielle as Colorado started to create some sustained pressure, pushing for the opening goal. But the question is, can they solve Danielle, who tried to do that is something that Stefan did. It's almost like the Quakes goalkeeper was trying to give the Rapids a little taste of their own medicine from earlier this season, and that of course is trying to stand on his head a little bit, making some big saves. Buda would then miss a tap in from close in the 39th minute before Daniel would deny Mihajevic from close. And just as we thought we were going to head to halftime 0-0, Quakes gets the opening goal. As DeJuan Jones, he scored his first goal for the San Jose Earthquakes from Vita Costa to make it 1-0 in favor of the Quakes. So it's not very often you see both wingbacks kind of combine on the goal scoring and assist chart in the league, and that's exactly what happened. And it also come out with a great build-up from the Quakes as well. This has been a common theme for the Quakes this season, where under Bruce Arena, we know how dangerous this attack is, but it's not just that this attack is dangerous. This attack plays some very beautiful soccer. I mean, I said that this team kind of is a little reminiscent of the Mateus Almeida kind era, where they play some crazy brand of soccer and that man marking kind of style. Well, this is kind of similar to that, except this is not man marking, and this is just kind of the style that Bruce Arena team have shown it in the past, playing some really beautiful brand of soccer that lets do a goal. So yeah, just like that, that was 1-0 in favor of the Quakes, and that would be the scoreline heading into the second half. In the second half, Espinoza would put it over from long range, and then the post would deny LaRue of an absolute banger there. I mean, he hits that one so sweetly. Very unlucky to get denied by the post, but there was no doubt that that goal that the Quakes have scored at halftime, it completely energized this team. It got carry the momentum into the second half as they were looking to try to get the second goal, and they did exactly that in the 67th minute. As Chicho Arango have now scored 8 goals this season. Safe to say that Chicho Arango has started to look a little of himself, even though I know that some of the goals that he scored has been from the spot. So there's kind of that naysayer, or the fact that Chicho Arango might not be all the way back compared to the form that he was with RSL in the first half this season, but this goal also was an absolute gift too, because Wazium trying to clear this one away. Instead, he cleared it off the back of Arango and basically just sent him in on goal in that one. So a little bit fortuitously bounced, I would say, for the Quakes and especially for Kiko Arango. But still, nevertheless, they would absolutely take it. It's 2-0 in favor of the Quakes up to this point. And then he was looking for a second not long after, but was denied by Stefan. And on the second play, LaRue would hits it right to Stefan. And this looked like more of the Quakes, the early part of this season, where they have really kind of dominate the game up to the point and not really giving a lot of chances to the Rapids. Though, even though I said that, where in the world was the pushback from Colorado? I mean, this was supposed to be deemed as one of the more attacking friend team in the league, and yet they were just getting completely shut down in the second half by probably one of the leakiest defense in the league. This season. Bassett would then puts it wide from close in the second minute of stoppage time, but that was really the last chance that the Rapids has, as in the end, it's a once in a blue moon kind of occurrence, but the Quakes gets the clean sheet here. It's a 2-0 win on the road. The shots in this one, 11 shots for both of these teams, 5 shots on goal. In fact, the stats pretty much are exactly identical except for shots on target. 2 shots on target with a 1 that the Quakes had, and both teams had 4 shots on his block, and possession-wise, 52% possession compared to the 48% possession that the Rapids has in this game. And I guess now that I think maybe some of the naysayers that mentioned with me talk about how negative I am with this team when I mentioned how I was kind of very concerning and almost in the level of panicking when those naysayers say, well, the resort is eventually going to come, and you remember how I had that rant against Sporting KC, where yes, I get that the resort is going to come, but at the end of the day, it's not coming, and that doesn't really matter. Well, maybe now those naysayer might be right, and that yeah, the resort definitely started to come with this team. This team has looked really dangerous in these last couple of weeks, and let's see if that continues, because they got another big test in the middle of the week. Well, I say it's a big test, but Minnesota just pretty much walked that one against Miami, and especially with the way that Miami hasn't really been looking threatening these last couple of weeks, been on a bit of a slum, and that fear factor of that team maybe might not be there compared to what I thought the Quakes might be up for on Wednesday night. But for the Colorado Rapids, yeah, there's got to be some concern if you're a Rapids fan, because just like Charlotte, this team is kind of almost in the same situation where it started promising for them in the beginning of the season, but now it's gone the wrong way with the way that not only their defense has not been great, but now the goal scoring is starting to dry up for this team. Now, moving on into the next game is Sporting KC and the Portland Timbers. So, Sporting KC, I'll just say that they at least register one shot in this one, and I guess they probably wish that they didn't register more than one shot because they were now on the losing end of a 1-0 resort. But 8 minutes into this game, the first shot of the game, see Joveljic miss one from close range, but the first shot for the Portland Timbers is in the back of the net, and what a goal this was from Santi Moreno. There's just something about bicycle kick goal and Portland Timbers kind of go hand in hand, and here we go again. A beautiful bicycle kick goal from Santi Moreno, from DaCosta and Anthony to make it 1-0 in favor of the Timbers. It was an automatic goal of the week. I mean, anytime when you score a bicycle kick goal, you know that that's always going to be the goal of the week and maybe even a goal of the year contention. Although it's going to be interesting because we have seen a fair share of bicycle kick this year, and that this is definitely going to be right up there in terms of going against to see what is going to be the goal of the year contention this season. Showery would then look to respond, but he was denied by Crepeau, and then he denied Showery again, but Suleimanov did get a second chance, and his shot was deflected, and then it was kind of up for grabs. It was kind of a scramble here, but fortunate for the Timbers, they were able to clear their line just about. But there was no doubt that I thought SKC responded well as they were looking to try to get a quick equalizer. Postgame would then absolutely rob Moreno from point blank range. I mean, yeah, that is one that's Santi Moreno. As spectacular the bicycle kick goal that he scored in the 10th minute, that is one that he's probably thinking, how in the world did he not score that, but score a bicycle kick goal just 10 minutes ago? But in the 22nd minute, Ajela would head it wide from close. We then go for its spell play where not much really happened. Sharawi would then puts it wide from long range, and then Anthony would drags it just wide from close. But we do head to halftime with the Timbers leading 1-0. In the second half, Garcia would then hit it onto the roof of the net before Sharawi would miss wide from close range. I thought Sporting kind of picked up where they left off for the part of the first half, continued to have the chances and push for the equalizer. Crepeau would then deny Shari from close. Much better game for Maxime Crepeau in this one. And he needed this one too because, yeah, you just kind of had a sense if he does not perform in this game, maybe this might be the last straw for him, especially with Pentemis getting ready to be healthy and back with this team. Moreno would then puts it wide on the header in the 62nd minute. We then go for another period where not much really happened, which that kind of favors the Timbers because yeah, they were riding out some really big storm early that Sporting KC kind of put under pressure on this Timber side. Postcam would then deny Anthony from close before Davis would puts it high from long range in the second minute of stoppage time. And yeah, in the end, the Timbers they were able to hold on to win 1-0 in this one. The shots in this one, 11 shots compared to 9 that the Timbers had. 2 shots on goal compared to 3 that Sporting KC had. Both teams had 5 shots off target. 2 shots on the block compared to 1 that the Timbers had. And possession-wise, 52% possession compared to the 48% possession the Timbers has in this game. So for the Timbers, great bounce back win after that 4-1 loss that they suffered from the Quakes, which is so important because as I said, if you ask me when it comes to this team, they always kind of had this weird situation where Phil Neville's side tends to go through a bit of a drought when they start losing. But with them getting a big bounce back win, at least it kind of buckle that trend a little bit. But for Sporting KC, I mean, soccer is kind of a weird game at times where you can have one game where you didn't register a shot and somehow got a win, and then this next game where they definitely play much better compared to they did in the last game against the Galaxy, and they're on the losing end because they just couldn't show that clinical finishing. I guess maybe not able to rely on an own goal by the opposition might be the reason why Sporting KC didn't score a goal in this one. Now, moving on in the next match, and the last match of this week is the Sunday night soccer game. And like I said, for this season, when we look at some of these Sunday night soccer games, man, there were some Sunday night soccer games that has just been absolute stinker. I mean, the last week, I know people won't admit it, but yeah, that was just an absolute stinker. If it wasn't for the historic moment of seeing a team fail to register a shot and still get the win, that would have gone down as one of the worst MLS game we have seen in recent memory. But this one, much better. And it was expected. We knew that this was going to be a good matchup between a team that is an absolute wagon right now, that is the Vancouver Whitecaps, and an LAFC team that, maybe started to turn things around and started to get going. Now, in the first half, Takaoka would deny Bawanga, but it falls right to Jesus, who was also denied by Takaoka. Yeah, it's safe to say that Bawanga is in rent-free head of Vancouver Whitecaps fans because he has just been an absolute killer for the Vancouver Whitecaps over the year. But there was no doubt LAFC was looking threatening early, especially on the transition, and they were rewarded with their dangerous play by scoring a goal in the 8th minute. As Mark Delgado would score to make it 1-0 in favor of LAFC. Takaoka actually made a great save to rob Segura there, but there was nothing he can do in terms of the rebound fall right to Delgado. He puts it back in, and yeah, just like that, it was 1-0 in favor of LAFC. Keep in mind, LAFC have not lost this season. They're 8-0-1 when it comes to leading first. When they get the first goal, most likely they're probably gonna win the game. Berhalter did look to respond, but he puts this one over. But then a penalty was given to LAFC as Ocampo brought down Holland's head in the box. So here comes Bawanga, a chance to stepped up to take the penalty. Remember, he did had a penalty save a couple of weeks ago against St. Louis, but this time he was able to bury it to give the visitor a 2-0 lead. And yeah, this is starting to kind of be a little unfamiliar territory for the Vancouver Whitecaps, at least in league play, where they found themselves nothing down. I mean, I wouldn't say it's unfamiliar territory in terms of overall because there have been times where they have been facing a lot of adversity, and this was the latest one. Not very often find themselves 2-0 down at home, and it could have been 3-0 down if Bawanga didn't hit this one right to Takoga in the 22nd minute. The shots were 5-1 for LAFC up to this point, and Vancouver not only has come out flat heading into this game, but they definitely didn't look like the team that were at their best in the last month or two. Well, in the 26th minute, they decided to get one back, and really kind of against the run of play because up to this point they really haven't threatening too much. But if there's one thing we know about the Vancouver Whitecaps this season, it doesn't matter if they're not playing at their best. They will always have a way to create a chance and find some dangerous. And here we go, as Brian White would score from Berhalter to get a goal back for the Vancouver Whitecaps. But then go for a period where really not much happened, and that's credit to LAFC the way that they really shutting things down, and that they could have easily let this one get away from them. Jesus would then puts one to Victoria in the 43rd minute before Veselinovic would head it right to Lloris. But we do head to halftime with LAFC leading 2-1 in this one. But in the second half, yeah, this is when Vancouver really started to dominate this game, and this is when LAFC hit the Cardinals in when it comes to playing on the road against a really good team, and that is just trying to bunker and hope for the best. It's almost like they basically decided to go row heave mode in this moment, and yeah, it did not win well whatsoever. But other than that, there was a shout for a handball for Vancouver not given. Vancouver was definitely on the front foot trying to create the chance to tie the game up. Berhalter would then puts it onto the roof of the net from the free kick before Bawanga trying to chip Taco, but he puts this one over. There was another shout for a handball for the Whitecaps not given. The shots were 8p 65 minutes in, but really I thought for the majority of the second half, Vancouver had pretty much all the possession. Now some might say, well, that feels like it's by design for LAFC, and now you might think that Vancouver might play in the hands of LAFC just trying to go on the transition, but LAFC didn't really have any transitional moment. I mean, they were getting pinned deep, with just pressure mounting all over with Vancouver, just kind of dominating possession and try to create dangerous chances. And again, when you decided to do that, unless of course you're Minnesota, which at times that they've been pretty successful in terms of doing that, you're eventually going to buckle under the pressure. If you're just gonna simply sit back and getting pinned deep and have the opposition have all the possession whatsoever. And in the 70th minute, that pressure finally buckled as Brian White would score his second goal of the game from Ahmed to tie the game up at 2 apiece. And like I said, that's been coming because for LAFC, it's just that they've been kind of bunker for the majority of the second half. Though I will also say that this goal was kind of a little controversial because LAFC feel like there should have been a foul on the development of play. I mean, they definitely have a say in terms of that, although that it is definitely questionable whether if that was part of the attacking sequence. But nevertheless, the game was all tied up at 2 apiece. Ibobasi looked to respond, but he puts this one wide before Kubas would puts it high from long range. And really, this kind of continue where Vancouver continued to dominate position, and then they started really put men high up. Now, obviously, this is where I fought for Vancouver. I understand that they want to stick to the style that they play. That's kind of what Jasper Sorensen been wanted to do with this team, but it just kind of gets to a point where, man, they're putting the lines way too high. I mean, they're really risking it in terms of LAFC trying to counter them. And there were times where finally LAFC started to get those counter opportunity. Start off in the 90th minute where Taco got absolutely robbed of Bobasi on the doorstep of goal, and then he had to palm away a corner delivery from Chingas Under here. As all of a sudden, LAFC, who has been pretty much pinned deep for the majority of the second half, they've started to find momentum again. Maybe trying to steal one late in this one. There was another shout for a penalty for Vancouver that was not given. Yeah, the fans were a little restless throughout this game when it comes to the referee not giving them a call. And as a result of that, yeah, they finally said that, yeah, you know what, ref, you really suck. And it was pretty hurt loudly throughout the broadcast that the referee was told that he's suck in a big way. But in the end, it ends in a 2-2 draw in this one. Very entertaining game, and in a game where I feel like it was also kind of a game of two halves, where LAFC were the better team in the first half, but in the second half, Vancouver was definitely the better team. The shots in this one, 11 shots for the 13 that LAFC had, 7 shots on goal for the 5 that Vancouver has, 3 shots off target for the 5 that LAFC had, 2 shots that was blocked for the 3 that Vancouver has, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that LAFC has in this game. And I can't wait to see this matchup again next time when it's at BMO Stadium, because as I said, this is a game that not only showcase that this is kind of the type of marquee matchup that we should get more often in Sunday Night Soccer, but it's just a classic example, just like what we saw in the game between Columbus and Philly, when two really good teams face off against each other and play at their level. You get a very entertaining game like what we saw in this one between the Whitecaps and LAFC. Well, there you have it. That is pretty much it when it comes to looking at these 7 games to finish off match week number 12. As always, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these last 7 games to finish up the review for match week number 12. Again, we do have 3 games in 7 days, so tomorrow I'm going to immediately have to do the preview for these midweek games, and then I don't know how I'm going to do the review for these midweek games. It's always tricky in terms of doing review for these midweek games, especially I don't have a lot of times before I have to do the preview for the weekend games as well. This is why it's going to be very hard for me to try to squeeze videos that is not previews and review related in a week that is 3 games in 7 days, but I'm still probably going to have to do it because, as I mentioned yesterday, I have to maybe do a video talking about the LA Galaxy of the historic bad start to the season that they have, and kind of go on a deeper dive as a result. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.